Hello everyone, and welcome to my series on how to make a creature capture RPG in Construct. This is episode 7, and by this point we haven't really done much creature capture yet. We're mostly working on just the basic, just getting a little bit of a fleshed out prototype, especially in terms of mechanics. I'm really not focusing on graphics right now. So everything right now is really going to be almost exclusively like blocks, essentially, until we get to a better point. What we're going to be working on today is the dialog system. So the dialog system is going to basically be more complex, and I'm going to show you how I can approach this design. That's what I want us to focus on today. By the way, I can't share any links yet because my account is too new, or it's like it's unregistered or something. So if you want to get access to the tutorial, oops, sorry, I messed up. If you want to get access to the tutorial, that's the link where I'm uploading the source code. Alright, oops, we don't need double text. So that's where I'm uploading the source code. You have access to it. It looks like this. It's just 3 commits. There are some episodes missing. I started by episode 4 basically, or 3 I guess. And you can get everything there. Eventually when I do the art will be limited license. You can't do your own you can't do your game using the art, but you can make your own art for sure. And the source, the events and stuff is going to be free. Free license. GNU. Or something like that. Alright, so we're going to make some dialogues. So the way it's going to work is that here in the character, we're going to have something called a dialogue. Dialog tree, okay, and I'm gonna skip the line because it's gonna be more complex, and I'm gonna use this to signify that it's a JSON object. So that's gonna be the dialog tree. So every character will have one like this. So the dialog tree will be made basically of multiple things. It's gonna be an array. It's going to be called buckets. Now in this array, I'm going to have different objects. Alright, so in the buckets, I'm going to have basically an array of different objects. It's going to be my lines. Not my lines, sorry, my stories. I'm gonna have my stories, which is gonna be an array. Right, so I have my bucket, I have my stories. And in there, in one of these, this is gonna be a story. It's gonna be a bucket. We need to put some of these as well around, I believe. Like that. So the stories are going to contain basically lines, or we can call these dialogue, we can call these panels. It's going to be an array, and there's going to be objects. Alright. Let's go back. Alright, it's a bit of a mess. Stories, and then we have the panels inside, like this. Panels, and then each panel is basically gonna be a speaker, is self, a dialog, which is a text, blah blah blah. We're gonna have a choice count, which is gonna be or maybe we can just say there's choices, and the choices are represented by an array. They're represented by an array, and the array will tell us a few things. It's gonna tell us each choice basically is gonna be made of a text, choice 1, and it's also gonna be basically is going to be made of an action close, and we can have additional data. That's going to be one choice. So there we have an example of a dialog tree essentially. So that's how I'm going to structure it. Okay, so how I'm going to do it is we're gonna have something like this, and soon I'll show you how to better organize your JSON. I'll show you a great technique, so don't worry, it's terrible right now, but in just 2 or 3 minutes we'll fix it. I'll show you my trick essentially. So she's gonna have Annie's gonna have one story, and then that's the dialog tree. So then this one I want him to have multiple stories. Alright, like this. And the first story is just gonna have one panel, and this story is gonna have 4 panel. And the last dialog will be, let's take the first, bring it here. We're gonna have 3 panel. Oops, we messed up. We need to copy like that. Alright, perfect. And we're gonna take two choice and remove the last choice like that. Alright, we need to fix the formatting. So now I'll show you how to fix the formatting. So to fix the formatting, I'm gonna use another software. So we're gonna use something called Notepad++. Okay, so get that software. It's a free software. You should have it if you're gonna be a programmer. We're gonna save. And so remember that this is a project folder now. So if I go in my Git, in my my GitHub, if I go in construct in here, if I go in files, dialogs, we have a JSON file which is the corresponding file, so we can open it in Notepad++. Okay, and in Notepad++ you're gonna have a plugin, and you're gonna do plugin admin, and you're gonna search for a plugin called JSON, and the plugin we'll look for is JSON tool and JSON viewer. And let's just install, click yes, and reinstall. And then when it's open like this, we can go and plug in JSON viewer, and we can just say show JSON viewer, and we can kind of view our whole structure and make sure it's properly organized, which is very useful. As you can see, this is a great addition to what we've done in C3 essentially. So something else we can do, I believe it's JSON tool, we can pretty print, and there we go. It's just gonna unfold everything perfectly. You can save that, and now let's just reload and open this, and now you can see that we have the formatting that was done in Notepad++. So that's usually how I do it, since they have a way better, oh, they actually have it now as well. Oh well, it's integrated in Construct as well, so you don't need to do that necessarily. But I guess it's useful to have the JSON viewer to be able to view the data structure interactively. So that's really cool. Let's use it in any case. Let's check out these plugins a little bit more. So we have tree viewer. Yeah, we have. Can I hit this? Oh, there it is. We also have this here. Tree viewer. So what's cool about this one is that you can actually move through it, which is quite useful. Alright, so I mean, it's not necessarily needed to use Notepad++ now that I know that you can actually do it right here. You can minify everything and you can beautify everything. So that's very, very useful. So we're gonna make a system. It's gonna have to kind of go through and dissect this whole structure, the dialog tree, and depending on the dialog tree structure, it's gonna generate the proper assets essentially. So how we're gonna do that is that I think on every enemy on the base NPC, I'm gonna add a variable, and I'm gonna say dialog tree data, make a string, put it null, and don't show it. Also, I want to rename that just name, and this was just a test. So dialog tree data, we're gonna do that. So when we create an NPC, we want to take that whole thing. We're going to take layout. So the name we're going to need to get is quite complex. So let's just put this down there. So we have the capacity to look. So we're just going to take a very specific path. So the path we're going to take is layouts dot layout, and then we're going to have to get a proper array. Then we're gonna get the NPCs array, then the proper index, then we're gonna get the dialog tree of that NPC. And we have to pass that to spawn NPC. So in spawn NPC, we're gonna pass a new parameter called the JSON dialog tree data parameter, which is gonna be initially null. And we're gonna need to take some whatever I just said and pass it into that parameter. So we're gonna create another local here called next NPC dialog tree and make a string out of that, put it null like this. Alright, because we want to log it first, so I'll make an intermediate step. I don't think it's a big deal. I prefer to be more safe than sorry. So we're gonna get this whole thing, and instead of getting the name, we're getting the dialog tree in this case, and we're gonna get as a compact string like this, and then we're gonna print that compact string. We're gonna say we're gonna print next NPC dialog tree. We're gonna say next NPC dialog tree data, and then print it. So all of these are going to print. and then we can just send that in. So next npc dialog tree, we're gonna send that into the function, and as we create the npc, oops, sorry, I missed. As we create the npc here, basically we're gonna check that this data is not null, I believe, just to avoid errors. And then we're gonna actually let's not check, it doesn't matter. We're gonna say base npc, and we're gonna say set value, and we're gonna take for a dialog tree data, we're gonna take the JSON data that has been received, like this. Because this data, we'll make a new folder called dialog and add that folder in the npc. Okay, and I'll put a few JSON structures in there. So there's going to be something called I guess we're going to call it next dialog data, like that. And we don't need a folder per se, because it's going to be the only thing we need really. Now remember that the way that the dialog comes into the screen, that's handled here. But we don't have a function for that. We're gonna need a group to deal with dialogues and a function more specifically to kind of do it properly. So dialogues is gonna be a new group, and we're gonna add a function. Sorry, we're gonna add a function, and the function is gonna be called load npc dialog, like that. Actually, let's just put it here. Let's just not create a group for now. Load npc dialog. We're gonna say this is a UID, okay, and we're gonna say sorry, not npc art, but base npc pick by UID. Pick the UID. I think there's another way to do this now, but I'm not sure how. So we pick the npc, and then basically we're gonna say that the next dialog data we're gonna parse, and we're gonna say that pick the base npc and pick its dialog tree data, like that. Okay, and so we're also gonna browse and log a warning, and we're gonna say function and use the utilitary function we created before to create what do we want? We want to paste together some data, so we're gonna say next npc we're gonna say npc dialog npc loaded dialog data, and then put the data. So that's the base npc the dialog tree data, like that. All right. All right, so basically we're just gonna print this data. So just to get started, that's what I'm gonna do before we do anything else. So when we enter the area here, we're gonna say function, and we're gonna say load npc dialog and pick the base npc UID. Like that. So now if I go with F12 and I load my project, I should be able to get a message right around there, and there we go. We loaded all of the data of that npc. Okay, so that's really good. and let's just verify something. So let's go down there and let's verify that the next dialog data, okay, is properly loaded like this. Excellent. So at this point we loaded the data, so that's done. We just need to make sure we're able to parse the data properly. So let's check that out. That's a big mess. Alright. I can't do it like this. Let's just put it back like that. And let's do event sheet reset column size. Right, and that's terrible actually. Okay, so when we load the NPC data, it's gonna be a replacement for this thing now. So all of that stuff, we're gonna move it to the function load NPC dialog, and we're gonna make this, actually we're just gonna leave it like that. Gonna delete these two events, and so instead of just putting the default text, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna load different information, obviously. So we're gonna have so what we want to display basically is the next line, next dialog line. We want that. We want the dialog choice count, and we want the dialog choice JSON data. We have no choice, I believe, to do it like that. Like that. And also we can also get the next next dialog bucket. That's gonna be a number. We're gonna get next dialog story, it's a number, and next dialog panel, that's a number as well. So all these information needs to be loaded. So the way this is gonna be loaded, we just need also one last thing, is another JSON. This one is gonna be next dialog choices data. Okay, so we need to do all of that. So to get the also we're gonna assume that the NPC themselves, the base NPC, we're gonna say that they keep track of their current bucket, 0, current story 0, and current panel 0. Alright, we're gonna probably change the way that this is set up later in the future. So what we want to get first is the dialog bucket. So to do that, we're gonna basically use the next dialog data, and we're gonna parse in, actually it's already done, it's here. So we can basically, we can already set the value next dialog bucket, and we can get the next dialog data. We can get, and it's gonna be buckets, and then essentially it's base NPC current bucket, like that. We need a dot here. So that's to get the bucket. Then after that we need to get actually, basically this is where I'm wrong. This here is not going to be a number. It's going to be next dialog bucket JSON data, and it's going to be an intermediate thing, so we don't really need it too much. But still, for debugging, we're going to save all of these. Like that, and so this is gonna be this intermediate JSON data, and we're gonna get as compact string like that, and then basically we're gonna get the next story. The story is gonna be let's try to actually make this folder dialog, because I think it might be useful to have a few more and be able to structure it. So we have next dialog, current dialog buckets. This is gonna be actually something else. It's gonna be focus, no, not focus, can I call that? It's gonna be active NPC buckets, and then we're gonna have a clone which is gonna be active NPC stories, and panels. All right, something like that. So basically, this is quite tricky. We get the full next dialog data. There, we parse it. Then we log it. Then we get the current dialog. So dialog bucket intermediate JSON data. Let's be consistent in the name. So active NPC, like that. So we're gonna load, and then we're gonna go in NPC dialog and take the active bucket, and we're gonna parse active NPC bucket like this. Okay. Then we're gonna get the bucket, and also after I'm gonna say stories base NPC current story. So that's the story intermediate. All right, and then oops, we go and we get the active story, and we're gonna parse in that active NPC story intermediate JSON data. And we do this one last time. We get the panel, okay, and we're gonna do get I think it's like this. Active story, and then we do which panels, and we get the base NPC current panel. So that's the panel. So finally we are gonna parse that in like this. All right, so we load all of that stuff when we enter into an NPC radius. So let's already test for that and see if that's true. So if I go here and I enter this NPC, let's check what's in there. So in here I have active bucket and I have a bunch of stuff. Art to tell. In here I have null, that's bad. And in here I have also null. So that's pretty bad actually. Let's take all of that and check it out in Notepad just to be sure of what we're looking at. Just do a new plugin, JSON, and pretty. So we're getting stories. Alright, so that's cool. Alright, so I get what's happening. So the error is that here I just need to start at stories. I don't need anything before. And here I just need, that's even better, to start at panels. Like that. So now let's try it. So I have this, and then okay, it still doesn't work. Oh, I see. So we need to parse the correct things. So we're gonna parse. This is gonna be the active bucket, and this here is gonna be the active story. Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's check this out. Is it working? There we go. So we have all the information broken down. We have the current bucket, all the bucket, all the panel, and the panel, and then the story. And we also have other buckets and stuff. All the information is represented in next dialog data. This is everything. So we have different level of information there. So the line is basically going to be the current bucket, the current panel, and then it's going to be, yeah, so okay. So to get the line, I'm simply going to say set value, and I'm going to say set next dialog line, and I'm going to get, basically I'm going to parse something. I'm going to say active NPC panel get as, or get, and then I'm gonna get it's going to be dialog, like that, right? And then to get the array count is going to be array size, choice count, convert to int, and we're going to get choices, which is an array. And the choice data that's going to be get as compact string, and we're going to get choices as well, like that. Yeah. And here I'm going to have a boolean called next dialog speaker is self, and by default is going to be true, or whatever, actually true. And then I'm going to have a check here that says it compares two values, and it's going to compare whether active panel get speaker is equal to self, and if that's true, I'm gonna set that boolean. So bool, set the boolean to true if that's true. Otherwise, I'm gonna leave it to false. All right, and after this is done, we're gonna print everything. So this here, instead of, is gonna be now the next dialog line. Now we print, and then if the self is speaking, it's gonna be this, and otherwise it's gonna be the player name that is being shown. And we're also gonna set this text visibility to on, and then we're also gonna do the opposite and set this one to invisible, like this. All right, so it seems like we've got some stuff working. I'm sorry, where am I? We're here in load NPC dialog, and the other stuff we'll have to do is spawn the dialog choices, but let's start by checking out if the line appears. So it says text blah 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 and Bub, and here it should say text blah 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 and Rocky. Okay, so yeah, it seems like it's working, but since they all have the same line, it's hard to say. We'll have to customize this. We'll also need to add a button for the choices. So for that, I'm just wondering, this was the last one, okay. So let's try to bring one here, like this. And I'm gonna make another, and this one will be a template, and it's going to be dialog background, like that. And I'm going to put it on the dialog UD, right, like this. All right. And I'm gonna do in object another different version. It's gonna be like this. Like that. And this version I'm gonna change its tint a little. Like this green, like that, with a simple green color. and I'm gonna make them a template, and I'm gonna say dialog choice background, like that. All right, so the way it's gonna work basically is here we have, at this point we have the choice count. So we can say for, and we can say for I 0 next dialog choice count -1, so that our loop is 0 incremented. Let's always do it like that for clarity, because that's usually how it's done. And then basically we'll how can we do this? We can, okay, so I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna say choice position divider, or something like this, and we're gonna set that value we're going to set that value to layout width divided by dialog choice count, not -1. And then basically here we're going to loop, and we're going to say system create object. We're going to create a 9 patch, and we're going to create it on the dialog HUD. We're going to create it at 0. Actually, we're going to create it at loop index I multiplied by choice position divider. And in terms of y-axis, it's going to be layout height -200, just to try things out. The template will be dialog choice button, like this, and we're going to create the hierarchy. And this, I want to call that actually TUI panel 9 patch underscore, like that. And before this, we're also gonna say, we're gonna create a block here, and we're gonna say pick all, and pick all TUI panel 9 patch, and we're also going to say pick by comparison TUI panel and patch template name is equal to dialog button choice. Is that it? Let's check it out. Dialog choice background. I'm very bad at this. Okay, so the template has to be dialog choice background here and here as well. Alright, so we destroy all of them, so we're gonna destroy all of them. Alright, so let's try it. Alright, it didn't work. I wonder why. Dialog choice background. Alright, so one did get created, but it's not visible for some reason. Its x-axis is 0. Okay. So this has to be +1. And this here has to be a viewport bottom, viewport I, and it's gonna be layout 0 minus 200, like this. Didn't work. Okay. All right, let's check out Y. Okay, yeah, because this here, instead of layout width, it needs to be viewport width, like that. All right, we have something on the screen. Alright, something like that. Viewport width divided by dialog choice count. And then here is gonna be this, and I believe maybe plus this. No. Let's try something like this. Alright, that seems like now we're getting close to what we want. Like that. And we're gonna say minus the UI panel width divided by 2, I believe could be useful. Just trying to get, okay, no, it's not that. It's gonna be no. Like this. I'm a bit confused about where it is. Where is it? Oh, it's too far. Alright, let's try to take odd dialog here as a layout, just to be sure. Didn't change anything. Like that doesn't work. And what if I say minus the UI panel dot width divided by 2? And let's put this here like as a sub JSON block, so that I don't think that's gonna work actually. I see. Alright, so this won't work directly. We need to set it ourselves. So we're gonna say minus 120. Okay, that's not, sorry, the struggle is real with this formula. I want the button to kind of appear uniformly through the screen, so see specific algorithm. How wide are these? 128. Okay, so it's 64. I see. Makes sense. Alright, that's perfect. He's centered. Alright, we don't have any other choices though. Let's just say minus 64. Okay, we have the choice. Let's lift this a bit. All right. So we're gonna need to try this out with some other data. So let's go here, and in choice, let's add some extra choice. So add another choice there, and like that. Alright, so let's check it out. So 3 choices to Rocky, 2 choices to Annie, and 1 choices to Bob. Alright, so that's great. That works well. So now also we can try to put in some basic dialogue, and I think that's gonna be it for this episode. I won't have time to do much more. I wanted to make an interactive system and everything, but obviously this is gonna have to wait. This is quite of a complex system that we're building, so we're just gonna say some basic dialogue. So here is gonna say, hey, have you captured one of these things? I think we can even use BB code eventually. And then also we're gonna have Rocky is gonna say, I eat rocks for breakfast. How about you? We're also gonna have here Bob is gonna say, what's your favorite TV show, you ask? Like that. There we go. So now all I have to go here, it says I eat rock for breakfast, how about you? And then oops, here it says have you captured one of these things? And then here he's gonna say, what's your favorite TV show, you ask? So you can see that they're already really reactive, and this is a pretty cool system. So I hope you learned a lot about how to, make feed in some JSON. I think really the best strategy is really to be ultra explicit with local variables and stuff. It doesn't really matter, and it's just more clear. So that's how I like to do it. So yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna upload this on GitHub and this video on YouTube. Have a good day.